met up in these bastions of colonization, whether it's the UK or in
The
France or
United
whatever,
States.
and United States. And through their interaction with one another and with the Black people in those communities. So let me talk specifically about like Black Americans, African Americans. If you look at Nnamdi Azikiwe, if you look at Kwame Nkrumah, they got a certain sensibility, especially during the civil rights movement, right?
Yep, yep.
So you see how the independence movements in Africa coincide with
The civil
the
rights,
civil rights movement here in the United
United
States.
States, yeah.
And I think, I'm certain about this,
That were.
that the reason you are now seeing all of these diasporic wars on social media
Uh-huh.
between Africans from the continent and Africans in wherever the host countries are. So
Yeah.
whether it's the US or the UK or whatever, but particularly here in the United States of America, it's just really proliferating, is because it is important to keep us divided.
Yes.
Because if we come together and understand that our fight is one, just like apartheid was largely challenged and overthrown, yes, by the Black South Africans, but also Black Americans
Uh-huh.
and other African people across the diaspora who
Yeah.
put pressure on their own government.
Yeah.
So if you can keep us thinking we are enemies with
Different
one
or
another,
different.
then you also stop this transfer of knowledge, these connections that will allow us to unify globally to overthrow our common enemy. Because now you see these African, we had that first crop of Africans who had a sense of Pan-Africanism when
Mm.
they returned to Africa.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing that as much. Although I'm grateful that, Tinubu went and met with De Silva in Brazil, and
Brazil.
there's some other conversations, but this idea of dividing and conquering us, of not allowing us to see how we are interconnected. So in these francophone countries, again, you see how it is easier for them to trade with France than it is to trade with
With
one another,
next
with
door
your
neighbor.
neighbor,
Next door.
because it was set up and designed and is being maintained that way. And yet, if you have the conversation, you realize, oh, wait a second, they're pulling the same game on you that they pulled on us, and we could actually combine resources. So we need to be very, very
It's
sensitive to how we're being divided.
it's actually very, very poignant that you mentioned that. There was a book that was released in 2021 titled White Malice by Susan
Yes,
Williams.
yes,
It points specifically to the plot to do that. The recent movie that was out as well, a soundtrack to a coup d'etat, also showed you the plays there. The new book that is going to be released in the second week of September by Howard French, The Second Emancipation, is a perfect window into understanding the nonsensity behind all these diaspora wars. That you guys are just basically banging your heads, or they're banging your heads against each other to their benefit.
that's
To
it.
their benefit. And so, yeah. So again, that book is Howard French's book, Second Emancipation, is coming out. And that shows the interactions between African Americans and Africans. The fact that W.B. Du Bois, one of the most foremost writers, is buried in Ghana, and his wife is buried in Ghana, are both buried in Ghana, speaks volumes